Representative Talarico.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chairman King. I know Representative Hinojosa asked you a few questions. I just want to follow up on some of them. I'm also, surprised again that we're in the pub ed hearing talking about sex. Hopefully that will come to a close soon and we can get back to education policy. But I want to ask you about sexual preference. So the only place I could find, because it's not defined in your bill, sexual preference, so the only place I could find it in code is in the Code of Criminal Procedure. Sexual preference has the following meaning only: a preference for heterosexuality, homosexuality, or bisexuality. And yet, and you said it earlier, any sexuality would be under this, not just one. Is that?
That was the intent.
Okay, good. So I just want to focus on heterosexuality then for a moment. If I'm understanding your bill, and it would ban all celebrations of sexuality of any kind, does that mean your bill would ban celebrations of Valentine's Day?
I don't think so.
Why not?
I don't recall there being weeks dedicated to celebrating Valentine's Day.
Well, under your bill, no district could celebrate any kind of holiday or celebration that involves human sexuality.
You know, honestly, Mr. Talarico, that is not the intent of the bill, and I know where you're going with this, but if it's a choice between banning it all and just teaching school, or continuing down the path our school districts are on, I would stand with banning it all and supporting our teachers.
So banning celebrations of Valentine's Day in public schools.
If that's what this body chose to do, I would not stop it. What I would say, that is not the intent of the bill. The bill was written, it is written broadly. And I fully admit that it was written broadly for a reason, to have just this discussion. You know, no bill ends like it starts.
Sure.
To be fair. So if one, as I said to Ms. Hinojosa, if you've got language that would protect a holiday like Valentine's Day, if that's one that is important to you, I would accept the language. I think I've been clear about the spirit and the intent of the bill, and it wasn't necessarily for prom, and it wasn't necessarily for Valentine's Day. But if it is written broadly where it would affect those things, I would be glad to take a suggestion.
Okay. The other things that I'm also concerned about, school dances. I think Representative Hinojosa talked about prom. You know, the other things, you know, I've seen sometimes viral videos, very heartwarming videos of teachers getting proposed to at school, sometimes in class, sometimes kids, elementary school kids are involved in the proposal, right? Seems very heartwarming, but it seems like at least under the current language, I'm glad you're open to clarifying it. Something like that, if it's hosted on school grounds, would be in violation of the current language.
Well, and once again, that is certainly not the intent. And if there's a way to tighten it up, to drill down on those things, please submit some language to me and we'll talk about it.
Okay, I appreciate that, Chairman. Because I want to talk about pride, because that's kind of how I'm interpreting the bill, as maybe that's what it's going after. And you said, Representative Hinojosa, that's also not the intent. Is that fair?
I would say that any sexually oriented celebrations is what the bill says. Now, if Pride Week is caught up in that, fine. But I didn't specify one group over another, and nor will I. Okay. There's no way I'm bringing a bill for this body that singles out a group. Now, if a group singles himself out, that's self-identifying. That is not what this bill says.
Right, because things like Valentine's Day or Pride are not about sex. Oftentimes they're about relationships. They're about celebrating others. And so that's why I just want to make sure we're not going after those things. Chairman, this is maybe a strange question, but I'm leading somewhere, so bear with me. But do you believe that being gay is a choice?
What does that have to do with this bill?
Excuse me?
Do you believe that being gay is a choice?
Do I believe that being gay is a choice? You know, I can't answer that. I'm not a doctor, not a scientist.
Let me ask a different question then. Do you believe gay people, gay students have historically been discriminated against?
Not by me.
Sure. No. I didn't, not by you, of course.
We're
I'm
talking
asking-
about my bill.
Sure.
And as far as worldwide, has there been discrimination? I think every group has suffered discrimination, and some of us on this dais have suffered discrimination. But as far as disproportionately one group over another, I don't really know. I know you're leading me somewhere, and I'm not sure
I'm
where
not
we're
trying.
going.
Well, let me just be straight.
I think discrimination does exist, but I don't think it's just for one group.
So let me tell you why I'm asking these questions. Because if being gay is not a choice, and gay people and gay students have faced historical discrimination, that may be why we celebrate Pride for those students, right? Because if a group of students, whether it's gay kids, whether it's black kids, we want to make sure that we are creating time to uplift those students so that we're kind of counterbalancing the historical discrimination against those kids. For instance, why we have Black History Month, right? To ensure that a group of kids who have faced historical discrimination are included, and that we're specifically going out of our way to make sure that they are included. I think that's my concern about any effort or any legislation that would prevent school districts from celebrating groups of students that have faced historical discrimination.
Well, I think that is certainly your opinion, and you're welcome to it. But what I would also say is, not every kid has discriminated against anybody. Not every kid wants to celebrate somebody else's sexuality, and not every parent wants their kid subjected to these things. So comparing a sexually oriented celebration to Black History Month, it seems to me like apples and oranges here. But it's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to clarify, and just like we admitted on Valentine's Day is not about sex, right? Valentine's Day is about love. It's a celebration of love. It's a celebration of relationships of all kinds, right? And usually, at least when I remember growing up in public schools, was nothing sexual about it when we exchanged Valentine's Day cards, or our teachers exchanged Valentine's Day cards, or a teacher talked about their husband or their wife and Valentine's Day. I think the same is true of Pride. Pride is not about sex. Pride is about celebrating a group of students and their identity, their background, especially because they've faced historical discrimination. So I think that's why we're trying to drill down on what exactly we're talking about when we say a celebration of sexual preference. And you've told us it doesn't include Valentine's Day, shouldn't include prom, shouldn't include dances, shouldn't include proposals at school. But then we ask about Pride, and it seems like the answer is a little less clear. I think that's my concern.
I appreciate your opinion. I think I've been very clear, and I did not specify Pride or any other group in the bill, nor will I. I'm going to continue to answer that question the exact same way every time you ask it, no matter how you ask it. Now, once again, the language of my bill is admittedly broad, and it's broad because the bill is not aimed at one group or another. That's why the bill is written that way. But once again, I'll extend the offer to you. If you have some language that you want to talk about, and I will be happy to work with you and take a look at whatever your opinions are.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Last question. This is about sex ed, because the bill bans providing special instruction regarding a sexual preference. Your intent is not to mess with sex ed.
It is not.
Okay.
A parent certainly has a right to take their kid out of that class.
Sure.
It is not a campus-wide class, so no, my bill does not.
Okay. Would you be open to us looking at language that would clarify, ensuring that sex ed is not caught up in your bill?
Certainly. I think you know this about me. I'm open to working with anybody on this dais, and that has a suggestion, and that one would not be precluded as far as I'm concerned if you have something to talk about.
Okay. I appreciate you'll be open to a question, Chairman, and to looking at language. I'm very concerned about the current language in the bill, and I think some clarification would be helpful and needed, and I appreciate you being willing to work with us on that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.